Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of the IWWOF Talks. First of all, on behalf of IWWOF, I would like to wish you a wonderful new year. We all know that 2020 has been very difficult year for everybody, and the start of 2021 is also a bit rough, but nonetheless, we would like to hope that everyone is going to be healthy and everyone is going to be happy sooner than later this year. And we are happy that you're with us in the journey also in 2021. A quick reminder about IWWOF for those who haven't joined us before. So we are an organization that was born in August 2019 as a Facebook group originally, and now we are 5,100 women in Finland who are belonging to this network. And our purpose is to basically welcome all women of Finland into their journey and life, particularly the working life. And more specifically about the IWWOF Talk Business Week series. So this is episode 7. We have the ambition to bring the most interesting change leaders and thought provokers in Finland to our stage and have them share their stories and their company stories. Well, our aim is to broaden our community's horizon and give access to our community members to these wonderful ladies. And today, we are going to be talking about diversity, inclusion, and also why is it important to have girls and women in tech. We have as a co-host today Priyanka Banerjee, and we have also then from Futurice Heidi Pech, who is the head of diversity and inclusion, and Lucia Nazzaro, who is a software developer at Futurice. So welcome, ladies, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Caroline. I will just share my screen. And please let me know if this is working.
Yes.
Excellent. Good. So, yeah, Caroline asked us to come here and share our story from Futurice on our diversity and inclusion journey, and also to kind of like tell how as an international woman developer you can succeed getting a job and a good career in Finland. And maybe first, Lucia, if you would like to introduce yourself shortly.
Sure. Well, as you have understood so far, my name is Lucia. I'm a software developer. I've been at Futurice now for 2 years and a half, but say my passion for development goes back to when I was 10 years old. I guess that's the very, very short summary of it. So I'll pass it back to Heidi.
Yes, and I think we will hear the longer version in a few minutes. So my name is Heidi Pech, and I'm working with the diversity and inclusion topics at Futurice. I'm an HR person by background. In Futurice, we call HC, human care. And I have been at Futurice for 3 years. Before that, I was working quite a long time in another IT consulting company. And my whole studying and working life, I've been in international environments. I've studied and worked abroad in the UK and in the Netherlands. And all of my jobs, I've been in environments where I'm surrounded by at least some, if not mostly, by people who are not Finns. And even here at home, I have an Australian husband. So it's even though I cannot say that I am an international woman in Finland, I can say that I can maybe relate quite closely to many of the experiences that you're going through. Shortly about Futurice. So we are a company founded in Finland 20 years ago. And now we are across Europe in 8 different offices, about 600 people. And we build digital solutions to our customers. And our customers, they are different kind of organizations, companies, public sector, NGOs, and so on. and we have 45 different nationalities working with us. In our Helsinki office, which is our biggest office, we have about 300 people, and about a quarter of them are not Finns. So as I said, we are surrounded by quite international people. About 32% of the company is women, and considering that most of our people are people working in tech, so software developers such as Lucia and so on. So for a tech company, this could be considered to be a considerable number. However, we will be wanting to improve it, as you will soon hear. The company is very heavily relying on our values, and they are really present in everything that we do. And in that sense, this diversity and inclusion, in a way, has been present for a very, very long time, even though at the time it wasn't maybe called that, but it's somehow very deeply rooted into the values that we have. So going more into this diversity and inclusion topic, first a few words about the definitions. So for us at Futurice, we define diversity that we want to represent kind of like all the people in our field of impact. And when we talk about our field of impact, it's of course it's our clients, it's the communities we work in, it's the talent we would like to recruit, it's the alumni who has worked with us, it's different stakeholders, but also we take it a step further than that. So for example, when we think about our clients, who are those companies, as I mentioned, we think about like who are their customers, so the customers of our clients. And once you get to that level, all of a sudden you're talking about a huge number of people, and there's a lot of diversity there. There's a lot of different kind of people, and we believe that unless we are able ourselves to have different kind of people, we are not able to build the best products and services for all those different kinds of people. And then inclusion for us is a practice that allows everybody to really be themselves. So not having to fit in, not having to be trying to be something like a futurician, but just being yourself, and kind of us being proud of that everybody is different and celebrating that fact. And when talking about diversity, there's a huge amount of different kind of dimensions of diversity in that colorful wheel. There are some of them. And we understand that nobody is just representing one thing. So if you read something there, you're not just one thing, you're a combination of many, many things. So I think this is important to keep in mind. And quite often you have many different kind of dimensions that you have in you. And it would be really nice to be able to work in such a way that you are kind of catering all the time for all these different diversities. But in order to be able to focus our work and to actually do meaningful steps, we have selected those dimensions that we have felt that at the moment are the most crucial and most pressing ones for us. So we have selected in our diversity and inclusion work our dimensions to be gender, and specifically increasing the proportion of women. And then another dimension is the nationality, so really the international aspect of the company. And diversity, equity, and inclusion is in our strategy. So there's a quote, and that quote is from our business strategy, which we renewed last summer. And that was the time when we chose to include DE&I as part of our business strategy. And at the same time, we created ourselves goals. So kind of like these stepping stones, or these like kind of like marks that help us to get there. Like what tells us, are we going to the right direction? And we had 3 goals. Where we want to build an inclusive workplace. And this refers to kind of like how we treat everybody within the company. And we know that at the moment there are some minority groups who feel that maybe their opportunities are not as good as those who are part of the majorities. So this is a gap that we want to close. We want to be the first choice for tech women. I mentioned that there was 32% of women in the company. If we look at just our tech competence, so we're talking about mostly software developers, there the percentage is a lot smaller. I think it's about 17%. And this is where we really have the kind of the challenge. Also, it's most of our people belong to this tech competence. Most of our people are software developers. So we really want to focus and have 1/3 of people, of our software developers to be women across all the career levels. In our 2 other competencies that we have, they are design and strategy. In those, there is already the balance. We have already about 50-50. And the final goal is that our leadership mirrors Futurice. So we want to diversify our leadership teams in such a way that both on the global level and as well as on the country leadership level, those teams, basically they reflect the diversity in terms of gender and in terms of nationalities according to the organization that they lead. So if there's, as I said, 1/4 of people in Helsinki are non-Finns, so then based on that, we should have 1/4 of our Finnish leadership team should consist of non-Finns. And these, we have set these goals. We developed them over the summer and published them in the autumn. We created them together with the group of people from inside the company and also together with our leadership. And then we actually took them to the Futurice board. And the board has kind of signed off on them, and they also very much believe in the importance of this topic, and they are holding us accountable. So if we don't do anything to take steps towards achieving this, then we'll get to have a maybe not so nice discussion with our board.
Just to add on here, Heidi, question, like really interesting goals, but for example, you have a goal of completely inclusive workplace. So how do you measure that? Like, do you have any specific KPIs or like?
Yeah, this is a excellent question. And this actually, we are using a so-called People Pulse tool. Like every employee gets like a short questionnaire every week, and they answer different questions about like how they feel about their work at Futurice. And one of the aspects that is measured in that People Pulse is diversity and inclusion. So we have picked the specific drivers to do with inclusion and non-discrimination that we are measuring. So we have like it's a NPS score. We know the starting score and the kind of what the gap is and how much we need to close the gap. So yeah, it's a Peakon is called this People Pulse tool.
Okay.
So here's a bit of the I guess the story or the kind of like how everything started and where we are at now. So it really started from the very grassroots level. There was a handful of very passionate employees who felt very strongly about this topic, and they got together and decided that we must do something about it. And actually it turned out that this group was very powerful in terms of what they were able to accomplish. So for a very, very long time, like 1.5 years, we were really working as a very much just like a collection of individuals across from our different offices who wanted to do things. And they did many things. They, for example, organized with the help of an external provider, a training that all our leaders went through. And I will share soon many of the other examples that the group has done. But that was very much a bottom-up approach. And now then, all this time, then there was also discussions had with the leadership until the time was right to then kind of also bring it top down. So as part of the strategy work, the D&I was selected there as part of the strategy. And then therefore now we have it in the strategy, and we have the goals, and it's on the board agenda as well. And then on the right-hand side of the slide, you see like kind of the things that we are working on now. So kind of the roadmap, like what are the actions that we believe helps us to get to achieve those goals that we have set. Here are some of the things we did. Yes, Caroline.
Yeah, maybe one question from my side as well. So you were mentioning that amongst all the panels of diversity sets, let's say that are out there, you have set the priorities now to this women and this nationality. How do you feel has been the reaction of the employees at Futurice? Were they behind the choice of these two elements as priority, or were there some maybe other minorities that were maybe feeling like not important or not as important, or has it been more or less like
yeah, I think mostly people were behind this. I think they are quite in a way quite obvious choice if you want. First of all, the gender there, like considering that we are a tech company, I think if we did not have a gender goal, considering our current gender balance, if we did not have that, I don't think we would be credible at all. And then the nationality part comes from the fact that we have like, there's a very heavily in our strategy, we have this internationalization targets. So I think they were very natural, but at the same time, what we have learned, so I've talked a lot, for example, with some very experienced D&I people who have set up similar kind of programs and done similar kind of things in their past. And what we have learned from them is that quite often, even though you start kind of like by focusing on certain groups, but while you start to focus on those groups and make it kind of more inclusive for them, at the same time, you are also making it more inclusive for all sorts of other groups, even though that wasn't really the kind of the selected as the dimension as such. So in a way, it's becoming more inclusive for everybody.
Yeah, and generally, it's also easier to get people on board when there is some type of incentive. So one of the questions we have online now from Camila is also, is there some incentives to employees who are referring to people from diverse pools to be hired?
Yes, that's a very good question. We have actually discussed this somewhat. So yet, no, it's something that we have talked about. So basically what the way we have worked is that we have these global goals, and then Futurice countries have also set themselves a country level D&I goals. And the country level D&I goals, in certain cases, they have just adopted the global goals, but in some cases, then it might be that their reality is a little bit different. So they have adjusted them a little bit or kind of focused on certain other aspects and to be able to kind of like tailor for their reality better. And then like so I have been kind of creating the global roadmap, and then we have also country level roadmaps. So this is like recruitment is something that's more, I would say, locally, it's at the core of our business, like people is our business. So it's a very kind of like a core business process in a way, or business action. So it's more in the hands of those local country level teams, whether they want to implement something like this. But definitely something that I know that I have mentioned at several points that would be possibly an interesting one to explore.
Got it.
But just to add on this, sorry, we are not letting you move ahead. I promise, last question at this point. The thing is that also I'm seeing now the goals and the strategies that you have, and also your strategy to improve the diversity in leadership. And then when you make these goals, how do you ensure that the people who are actually involved in creating these strategies are diverse enough to create an inclusive strategy for everyone, so that we have these kind of what Camila was saying, we can see that people or leadership is more interested, to have these kind of strategies in place. So how does it go?
Very good question. And of course, when we are working, we need to work with who we have right now. So we don't want to wait until we have the perfect diversity, able to developing diversity and inclusion. I guess one example could be that, for example, at this quarter, there's a team consisting of some of our leaders who are developing. They are renewing our leadership model. So kind of like what kind of leadership teams are, etc. And I will be there in that team. I was kind of like invited there in order to provide this D&I lens to that process, to ensure that the kind of the outcome, the renewed model will be inclusive for different people from different backgrounds and different diversity dimensions, if you want. So kind of like we are definitely on the way. Like we are not there yet. This is a very much a learning journey. But I think what we are doing is that maybe as an organization, the eyes have opened more and more in terms of like what are all the different aspects. It's not a project. It's not one person's job. It's not one team's job. It actually is a thing. I feel that it's a bit like culture. Futurice has a very strong culture. To me, this D&I is something as kind of deeply infiltrating everything as culture.
That sounds great, and I will let you continue with it. We'll take the questions later.
Yeah, so here are a few things that when we started doing this with the grassroots level team, some of the things that we have done, and I will actually go a bit, showcase a few examples here, but we started looking at data by different means. We have conducted D&I audit a couple of times with an external provider, and that was actually a really helpful tool for us to really find out where the pain points are. So we wanted to find out, like for the minority groups, where are the pain points? What are the things where their experience is not on the level of those who are not part of the minority groups? And this was really helpful. We did find out, it was a very long survey and also accompanied by interviews. So people were invited to participate in interviews if they wanted. This was conducted by an external company, so we don't know, for example, who were interviewed, and we don't have any access to the raw data, but we received a very thorough report with the analysis on the kind of findings from the audits. We also dug around with our own diversity data, which is of course much more narrow, mostly focusing on a few aspects of diversity that we are able to store. So gender and nationality, we have created some interactive dashboards that our own people can play with and look at kind of what the situation is, for example, at different offices. I already talked about our people pulse beacon, and then of course we are using our HR system following up all the time, as well as this people pulse for the how are we doing in both of the diversity data and the inclusion. And we have been all the time talking with our key leaders. I guess CEO would be the most important one that I could mention, and really kind of like getting him on board. And he's very open to discuss these issues and really understands and believes in the importance. There's been various ways of communicating the message. I'll show a few of them soon. We've been networking a lot in our different home markets. And from the very beginning, we have taken the approach that we want to learn, but also we want to be kind of sharing our own learning. So it's kind of like a conscious choice for us to be share the journey with the outside world. And then we have different kind of trainings. I'll talk about them in a bit. Here's our code of conduct. So that was one of the very, very first things that we did when that grassroots level team was set up. So basically creating a common rules how we treat each other. And this is very useful, for example, if some kind of conflict comes up, or we are using Slack a lot, so that's easily there might be some misunderstandings. So then it's in a way, it's quite a neutral way to refer to if things, for example, heat up. And in our all offices, when we were still at the offices, we had posters on the walls with where we had written the code of conduct, and it's available in our intranet. Here are some of the trainings we have done in D&I. So everybody who's in any kind of a people leader position has gone through something called inclusive leadership training. Then we have had one focused workshop, Unconscious Bias for Recruiters, where we really dug into like what does it mean, the unconscious bias in recruitment, and how to overcome that. Then in our onboarding, we have a session on inclusion. I'll show you something from that in a bit. This is we have onboarding camps once in a quarter for all the new starters, or at least we used to before Corona hit, where like people from all our different sites would fly to Finland, and they would spend a couple of days in some lovely cottage or on an island together, learning about the Futurice culture and kind of our story and our ways. And there we have this inclusion session to really kind of go into personal level into this topic. Then we have monthly internal learning events. They are a bit like internal meetups, basically for anybody who wants to join internally. These work in a way that if somebody would like to speak there, they just tell it beforehand, and then they prepare some kind of speech, and they talk about their topic, and then there's a discussion afterwards. So we've had some really personal stories there, people sharing of their own experiences, and then more like kind of also more not so much about sharing personal stuff, but more about sharing like what you already know about this topic. So a wide variety of different things. And next, what we are going to have is we are going to focus on allyship, how you can be kind of ally to those who are in minorities. And for this one, we are going to try D&I learning platform, and we are piloting it in this quarter. And then hopefully that pilot goes well, and then we can expand it for the whole company. So this slide is,
yes. I know that we are running low on time. Anyway, so many questions here. I know that like Futurice, it's really known for their best practices in workshops and training and these kind of activities. So I would like to just have an idea from your best practices that how often do you do these training? Because people really forget after one workshop. So do you have like follow-ups, and how regular do you do this to keep it into action and into conversation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's definitely like one workshop that's not going to solve your issues. But I think it's like it will help to kind of like create a common understanding, or for example, common language around certain topics. But definitely, I think these are things that need to be kind of alive all the time. And that's the approach we have taken, that it's maybe not so much like a series of trainings, I think, because training is not necessarily the way forward in terms of how you take these forward. And at the moment we can see that there's a huge kind of very wide spectrum as to like in terms of the understanding, the level of understanding in the company. Like there are people who are like super into this, and they have like studied, and they have read, and they've participated in all kinds of things, and they are like really extremely knowledgeable on this. And then there are those who maybe are not so interested, doesn't really touch them. They probably haven't experienced it personally. So we have both of these, and then of course in the middle is like where the majority is. So it's somehow like trying to bring more to this direction. So there's a very many different ways that we are doing this. Yeah, so this slide is from our onboarding camp inclusion session. So this just there's some personal exercises there that we do, and we discuss it a lot. And here are just some of the advice that we are giving to the new starters in like how they can be at Futurice, how we would like them to be themselves. And here, this is Jessica Komulainen. She's 18 years old, and on October 9th, she was the CEO of Futurice. And this is the Plan International's Girls Takeover campaign that we decided to take part in. And at the core of the campaign, a teenage girl takes the position of a CEO or some other top leadership for one day. So Jessica came at our company and was leading us for a day. And in her day, she was discussing a lot about with our CEO. with, for example, the chairwoman of our board. And here she is giving a speech to the whole Futurice, streamed to all the different locations or people's home computers. And because we wanted, this was a very important action in terms of becoming the first choice for tech women. This Girls Takeover, the theme this year was Girls in Technology. And yeah, of course, the fact that we gave the CEO seat for a day for a girl, that like it's one thing, but it at the same time it represents a lot wider topic. We spent the day talking about these issues, and we also involved the teams of Futurice by creating something called Solution Creation Jam, which is basically like a possibility for teams to participate in finding solutions to the problems that girls face with technology today. So there were things like how would it be easier for girls into the tech career, or when teams build tech solutions, they are quite often consisting only of men, and then that can lead to problems. And they pitched the solutions to a panel, and the panel was consisting of our duo CEOs, Jessica, and our regular CEO, Teemu. And Teemu and Jessica together selected the winning solution. And Futurice committed to basically taking that winning solution into practice and create so right now, the winning solution is under development. We are working on it to make it happen, and it's going to be a D&I canvas that project teams can use when they are creating processes and services and products, to make sure that they take diverse viewpoints into account in case that team does not yet have the diversity there. And this canvas is going to be done this quarter, and once it's ready, we will share it with the world like we do. So it will be available there. And yeah, so these have been some of the things we have done or are continuing to be doing. And at this point, I could hand the ball to Lucia. Yes.
Yes. Great framework. And of course, now we want to hear from Lucia, that's what her experience has been also, and how she sees the future of getting more girls in tech and more women in tech. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, then let's get started. I would like to open this with a quote. So if Heidi would kindly move to the very first slide. And I know sounds a little bit weird, but maybe, and that's what the cost of sound cheesy. I would like the very first thing before anything is love yourself. And this is a quotation from it's a quote from one of my favorite games that says, your house is only as difficult to clean as you are. In the sense that, of course, there's so much hustling in trying to find a job or trying to fit into what we call normal routines. And I believe that even before that, you have to be at peace with yourself, and you have to always act upon a certain level of unconditional self-unconditional love. So just wanted to say that while you're seeking for a job, while you are working at workplace, try your best to always work with some peace with yourself. So if we go to then part of the other things, one thing I would like to point out that has helped me a lot to find a job here in Finland is I guess my tendency to talk or to put myself up, or say the things that I like. And so happened that friend of my friend heard, oh, you are a developer, I know somebody that is looking for somebody, and easily that's how it got me the first position. Point being that yes, word of mouth of course works well, but like you need to put yourself up. And like being especially software development, a job that presents itself with a lot of companies, I would say it's a good time to do some sort of like homework, like let's not just send, you know, applications to all the companies, but try to find a company that resonates with you. Like, okay, what project did this company have? Like, what are their principles? Like, what type of culture is there in the workplace? Like, is this something that I'm happy with? And I would say that's like the first important thing, rather than aiming at sending your CV to many. I think one thing that has helped me has always been being a little bit more critical, like, okay, but will I want to keep going to this workplace after a month? Will I want to keep working for this place for more than a year? And thankfully now at Futurice, even after more than 2 years and a half, I wake up and I'm actually happy to work. I would call it pretty success, you know. I know that it's easier said than done. Like, how do you get this network? How do you make yourself the connections that can help you to find a company that resonates with you? And I would say, which might not be innovative, but maybe it's not stressed enough how important it is, like to join groups where you find people that are aligned with these things, like things that like you are interested into. And especially in our case, for like, you know, women that would like to explore the development, coding, programming, there are supportive groups like Mimit Coda. Mile has done an amazing work at providing women with like enormous series of workshops. So it's always like up to you to decide like whether, you know, coding might be of your interest. Like, so one thing that has appealed to me to join this workshop is that learning has no labels. So don't let anybody tell you the things you can or cannot learn. It's always up to you, and you have all the rights to say whether something it's actually how you had envisioned it, or if it's not, it doesn't take you anything away from you. And like, you wouldn't know if you don't try, so try. In terms also like, as I said before, like don't be afraid to tell people the things you like, hey, I'm actually interested in coding, I haven't had much experience, or I am interested in these, I like creating illustration. It does apply in general to many professions. Like, don't be afraid to put yourself up. And I know, again, very obvious, but sometimes not so obvious, like use LinkedIn. And if we go to the next slide, the way I would like also you to use like LinkedIn and in a way to approach companies is from you, like from your perspective. Like, it's not about the companies, it's about you and what you can do within the company. How many times we see like why do you want to work for this company? Like, why do you want to work for our company? And I believe this question has the emphasis on the wrong part, which is like company X. Like, why do you want to work for this company? And the focus should actually be like, what can you do that we do together in this company? Like, how can we align our goals? So like, I would like for people to maybe like, you know, because the common answer to this is like, yeah, money, I kind of need money, but that's completely off. That's not the point of this. And you should rather see like, okay, what are the causes this company is working on? What are the things that they have at heart? What are their goals? What are the things they're trying to achieve? Are these aligned with the things that I want to do? And that's how you like can get, you know, a better answer to this. So when you read this type of questions, like, take it with the twist that it's about you. And like, as I also write on this slide, like, think about exactly like, okay, these are the things that I would like to know. This company seems to have people work with this certain set of skills or with this type of projects. And it's always good to mention, I know that people don't particularly fancy to write application letters. But at the same time, I believe that's the best way to open up when you think of a pool where there's many people that are nothing but basically data. The letter allows for you to open up and tell the things that you want. And when you combine this with the fact that you can put yourself up and say like, hey, I see this company is doing these type of things. I would really like to learn about this. So far, I have been able to involve myself with certain activities, but I believe this company can allow me to go further. It's in the interest of companies to find people that are driven, and it's in your interest to find like companies that can enable you to do things. If we go to the next slide, this is again one of the questions that I see very often, and something I also have struggled with at the very beginning, or I have from time to time struggled, because like I've often been working for companies that had like internal repositories, or like their product is not necessarily readily available online for people to test and understand like what you've been working. It's like, what do you do? Like, how am I supposed to show the things that I can do? And again, one thing that I believe it's a bit of a misconception. It's like when you get asked for a project, it's not an implication of like, oh, well, your free time, you're supposed to code every day and have like 20 to 50 own GitHub projects. It's more rather, the idea is like the company would like to have something tangible. And if you are not able to have, say, an enough amount of projects for whichever reason, I don't know what is enough amount of projects, honestly. Like I have been able to join Futurice without any, say, concrete project on GitHub, but rather trying to show my critical thinking together with the factor, of course, that I have had some other years of experience. But say like, again, you don't have enough projects or enough things to show up, I would like to propose then to show your critical thinking. If you don't know, like, if you don't have enough material, take somebody else's work and say like, okay, these are the things that work really well and they are very well because they contemplate a lot of cases. This part I might have wanted to do differently because it's, if we want to expand. So just basically showing critical thinking there.
Yeah, thanks, Lucia. Maybe a question at this stage, because I think there is a bit of a vicious circle, at least in Finland, maybe other countries as well. But I'm hearing from a lot of companies that they would like to have more girls in more specifically like software development, but anyway, in tech or STEMs at large. And on the other hand, I'm hearing from a lot of girls who have those skills that they don't find the jobs, or they don't necessarily know how to apply, or like you said, they don't have enough projects to show or things like that. So in your view, how could we reconcile the both? What could be the solution to this kind of like vicious circle that is going around? How do you see, like, how you influence, for instance, in Futurice to get more women in the team? As Heidi said, it was 20% of women now in the software development, and the target is much higher than that. It's 33, I think, by 20. So how do you see this going? What could be the solution here? The win-win solution?
I think the win-win is an effort from both us applying and companies like looking for the pool. I think like from us applying, like I keep saying this often, but it is something that has been very eye-opening for me. Being myself of a certain character, I haven't necessarily always questioned like, is this for me? Like, am I welcome here? Like, is this group or is this event for me? But talking with one participant from previous workshop that we had quite long while ago, I understand that this type of feeling is not necessarily shared, that you do often question like, I am not sure I can attend this event. Like there seems to be a lot of men. I am afraid that they will just not appreciate my presence, or I don't know if these things are for me. And maybe my suggestion in that sense, like of course easier said than done, is to kind of challenge that. I want to say, like, every time that before men and women, we are persons, and as learning has no labels, like there is nothing that should prevent you. In environments, of course, there are people that might be more or less welcoming, but I do also believe that uh, I have had way more positive experiences than negative experiences, and I would like people to not discourage themselves. From company perspective, I think like creating workshops and having the possibility for people to get like to see like, hey, let's check out together, like we have this workshop, if you show us that you already understand this and you can even tell us how to do it better because you have better ideas. I think this is a great way to, you know, meet everybody. Like I hope that somehow somewhere there was somewhat of an answer for this.
Great. Yes, please keep going. Then we'll have a question for back to Heidi after that, because we need to move to the Q&A. But yes, keep going.
Okay, let's move to the next slide. Then again, like now I have mentioned a few, say, things that seem a little bit hard to concretize in the sense that, okay, this is a good thing that I keep in mind, but like, okay, what can we do then that feels more consistent? And one thing that has helped me a lot is like kind of, you know, choosing my own learning roadmap. And again, this is something that can apply to many professions. Like, let's put like your career in the middle of things and then decide, okay, what do I know here now? And what are the things that I want to know next that will allow me to uh, uh, succeed in work and like advance in career? And for the sake of development, we have like a lot of tools already available online. There is this roadmap that based on whether, for example, you want to engage front end or back end, can guide you through like the concepts and also technologies that you might want to know to improve your work. And beside that, like there's also like the possibility to follow people that reflect your desired career path. If you already have found like there's somebody that like, I would like that job, I would like to do the things this person is doing, I would definitely recommend to follow the person and even daring asking questions. Like I have often asked questions on LinkedIn, like hopefully, thankfully, most of the times I've gotten answers, and it's nice. Like I don't think this is especially one sector where everybody understands like that, you know, there's different milestones, there are different points, and it's always nice to have a sparring. Like when I was, or also like I have the great privilege to have lots of very nice colleagues, and whenever I want to engage things that I'm not very familiar with, after doing my own homework, I can always ask to them like, hey, what do you think like about this? Like if I assume that I should start first with this technology and then go with that, is it a good choice? And I have the possibility to spar with them and like just try to create the occasions to discuss with people. Like I'm writing on this slide to organize some coffee meetings, but basically anything that allows people to share their experience. Somebody might tell you like, yeah, I thought that was a great move, but it costed me much more time to actually go that route. So maybe if I could go back, I would do differently. And these are things you wouldn't be able to know if you don't ask. If we go to the next slide, like I can show that this is my learning journey. No need to overread everything, but just like as a principle, like I have in the gray circle, everything that I know. And in the white outer circle, I have what I would like to achieve in the next 6 months. And like every 6 months, I also look back and see like, okay, what are the things that went well and what are the things that actually haven't worked well. So the format of this roadmap can be anything you want, really. Like it has to just work for you, basically. And if we
So
go,
we might have some ladies on the call who are thinking about changing their careers. And we might also have ladies on the call who have daughters who are still in the, let's say, early enough in the school that they can decide their orientation in a few years for universities and such. So would you recommend for these guys to go into this software?
Absolutely. There is
It's a good
nothing
career to have in Finland.
that is absolutely like a blessing. Like, I know that it might not sound like smart career move, like after 10 years of doing this, I decide that I want to do development. But from my personal view, and something that I also see reflected in a few companies, this is more than beneficial for like companies like Futurice or even other IT companies, because what you do is basically bring in a whole new set of knowledge from your sector into the IT. And we will always have this type of like, needed knowledge. Like how beneficial would be, for example, if I were to have been working in a car repair shop. Now that I'm working, for example, with Tori Auto, how easier would be for me to understand, for example, all the critical features of a car, and also give more valuable feedback on the development of the site. So point being that all different background experiences are always welcome, because then they allow you to have a different perspective and a different way also to contribute to the project. In a way, I believe, again, like it kind of belongs to the diverse part of things. So definitely.
Just one question from one of our audience, Melissa. Is that roadmap online somewhere? I'm currently needing something like this. So where to find this is super detailed and everybody wants to know.
If Heidi kindly would go to the previous page, there is like roadmap.sh, and in that site you are able to check basically everything you need, and it allows you to choose whether you want to engage front end, back end, and again, like based on this, like you can also search other keywords like all things tutorials, or like there's many repositories that allow you to find very new and reliable sources to learn. One thing that comes to my mind that I would like maybe to comfort people with is that sometimes there's like people that might use in the readme like, oh, this is very simple or something. And I don't necessarily believe the way people were, oh, to do this, you can simply do blah, blah. The simplest maybe to be taken as a way that maybe it was addressed to people that had more experiences. It does not imply that it's simple and maybe like you cannot do it. Like just try to take it more as an invitation that, okay, but maybe if I don't understand this, there's something else that I need as a base. I'm mentioning this because I would like, as women, we often get more challenged, like in work context, that, oh, I must know everything, or otherwise, like I'm less of a developer. And the reality is like, no, I don't know everything. I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable saying I don't know. I'm thankful because in a workspace like Futurice, I'm allowed to say I don't know without anybody like, making me feel like, oh, well, then why are you a developer? Things like that, And I want to defeat this thing that, we need to know everything. We don't. Technology also changes so fast these days. Like it's been only like in the latest 5 years, for example, that so much has changed. And it's like unreasonable for us to, claim that we know everything. So I think like, I just want to put this up to say.
Sorry to in between, there is just one question which relates to what you're speaking, that do you also include your experiences from different kind of jobs? So for example, someone has an events and media experience. Does that actually is meaningful to get a dev job in tech?
Absolutely.
So please, because we're critically running out of time. So if you can do a yes or no, that would be great.
Yes. I haven't studied computer science, and I have been studying marketing. And like I believe that my marketing background has helped me being also more mindful in the way I do work, because like then I have contemplation on, for example, search engine optimization, the pages need to be. So like many knowledge from different fields will definitely come at hand.
Good. Hey, ladies, this is super interesting, but we are really critically running out of time now.
Apologies.
So there is one more question we will ask online. Then we can ask the other questions in the after show. So for Heidi, a question, and actually for Lucia as well, that is there really a lot of expectations from your customers that the software developers speak Finnish, or are they more and more open also to the English-speaking developers? And then we can move on to the recruitment corner very briefly as well, if possible.
In terms of yeah, our some clients, yes. In general, no. I would what we call tech. It's the role where really, if you speak English, that's it. Like that's what you need to know. We have a huge number of software developers who are not Finnish and don't speak the language. And we have this happened already several years ago, but for example, we had one long-standing client who made a request to start a project with us, and then like they kind of did the project specifications and what kind of team they would like to have. And then one of the requirements from them was to have a specific software developer on a whatever coding language who was speaking Finnish. And this was a long-term customer, so we, the salesperson from our side, they challenged the client on this. So they basically said, okay, well, actually we have a person who fits all these criteria with like this and this programming language and the required amount of years, etc., but they don't speak Finnish. Would you be willing to try? And the client was willing to try. And from then on, with that specific client, the Finnish language has not been a requirement for the software developers from us. So no, you don't need to speak Finnish. And yeah, did you want to jump to the recruitment corner, because I mentioned it there as well?
Sure, definitely. Caro, you're on mute, so cannot hear you. But yeah, we can go ahead with the recruitment corner.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, we have 5 minutes left still before the end of the original hour. So definitely, yes.
Yeah, so we had a few words with Lucia about this recruitment. So we are all the time looking for people, especially for our tech competence. So people who are front end, back end, full stack, cloud, mobile developers, or some kind of a combination of these at different stages of the career. So these are positions that are pretty much going on all the time. Right now, our internal IT team is looking for two people, 2 roles. One of them is IT specialist, and another one is a data and business analytics specialist. And our summer jobs have just closed, but we were able to talk with the team, and they have promised to extend them until the end of tomorrow. So if there's anybody there who's a software developer in the very beginning of their career, or at the kind of, maybe you're halfway your studies in this, you're not able to do something, but you don't have to be a ready professional. The job is literally open until the end of tomorrow. So that's an opportunity right now, and we basically kept it open to be able to offer that application opportunity for you.
That was really nice. I guess just for like the skills needed, like I would like just to briefly say that maybe there's like of course we like to have people that have skills related in the tech world, but that was something I would rather put like further back, because the first thing that goes up would be like the ability to communicate, the ability to work with other people, and the ability also, to critical thinking, like, okay, we have a problem, how do we solve this? So kind of like can-do attitude. I guess I'm a proof that the English language is not needed. The Finnish language is not needed. And for me, it has been really a big chance to develop myself. Like this often sound very like cheesy words that seem like, oh yeah, this sounds good, like guess all the CEO we get out of this. But the reality is that I have been able to go from regular person 7.5 hours every day behind my computer screen to be able to, for example, participate to these events, to be able to like help create workshops, to participate in events. And I'm really thankful. Like I always have certain level of, you know, anxiety or something before meetings, but like I have been given the chance to kind of fight it. Like now I feel way more confident to speak up. Like I feel like, okay, I can do it. Like, and Futurice has allowed me to do that. And I would like to say that it's really nice. Like people, if I say I want to do something and the next thing people tell me like, how can we help you? I would say it's really nice.
That's wonderful to hear.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, ladies. We are just at the end of the hour. I think it was a really great session and really good combo of having the diversity and inclusion framework, which actually could be valid more or less for any company. So I think that's really valuable insights for our audience member today who may not be in the same industry as you, and as well then getting the insights more specifically then on how this diversity and inclusion can look like in the software world, and great tips, practical tips from Lucia then how to land a job in Finland in this sector. So thank you so much, ladies. Thank you so much for our audience who has been posting a lot of questions, and then Priyanka for being my great co-host again today. So
Thanks
thank you everyone, and
Lucia from my side.
bye-bye.
Thank you very much.